Marty, it's been a week,
Yeah.
and it's insane what we have to talk about today. It's crazy.
You know, I'll never stop being amazed, Clyde. Like every week it's like the dumpster fire. Well, actually, we burned through the dumpster fire. I don't know what we're burning now. Like we've burned like
We're burning the country down. This is what's
Yeah.
happening, Marty. It's
Yeah.
crazy what Justin Trudeau came out and did today. I don't know what else to do but just get right into it. So this is him at the inquiry into foreign interference. He took the stand, and there's a whole 5-minute video here, but we don't need to go into the whole thing. He just nails it right in the beginning.
I have the names of a number of parliamentarians, former parliamentarians and or candidates in the Conservative Party of Canada who are engaged or at high risk of, or for whom there is clear intelligence around foreign interference. And I have directed CSIS and others to try and inform the Conservative Party leader to be warned and armed to be able to make decisions that protect the integrity of that party, of its members, from attempts at activities around foreign interference.
Okay, so let's get into that. Let's digest what he just said.
I can't even give him a 10 out of 10 for acting. Like a couple of things come to mind.
He's a third-rate actor. Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, terrible.
I mean, his body language is telling, right? Like to me, it looks like, he went in there prepared. Somebody told him, listen, if you feel that the moment is right, maybe go with this quote unquote, bombshell. It's not a bombshell, by the way. So you can tell in his body language, like he's wondering, ooh, do I do it or do I not? Right. And then he felt like he wanted to do it, but you could tell he's like lying and sort of making it up. I'll tell you this. And I'll tell you why I think this. We just finished Thanksgiving and I have family still at home. Right. And it's interesting when that's what I do now. I take subjects. My poor family gets subjected to this, but I show this to like my mother-in-law or people like that. And they look at him and they just immediately go, whatever. Like they don't believe him. Like, so people that you and I, we've watched him all along. We know when he's lying and when he's not, but it's fun to watch people who are not as deep into politics as you and I are. And even they're not sold anymore. Like people are just not giving him the benefit of the doubt.
Well, here's the thing. So he told us for years that he knew nothing. He'd never been told. He's never been aware of anything. That none of this is a thing. It's all been a figment of our imaginations that there's been any sort of interference. But now it's. But I do know. Oh, like did it just suddenly come to him, or was he lying the whole time? But now we know about 11. We know that there are 11, but apparently, I guess they're all in the Conservative camp now. Is this what he's trying to contend? Of course, there could be some in the Conservative camp. There could be some. And
what he did today backfired because almost like it, and Pierre plays him so well. It's almost as if Pierre expected him to do something stupid like this and had the letter ready to go because. Like minutes after he said it, Pierre's like, that's fine. If I got 2 guys on my team, Pierre's obviously confident. He hasn't seen any quote unquote list, but he knows his guys, right? So he's confident enough. I mean, I face weird accusations all the time. That's why I said to people, it's like, bring it on. Like, I know what I've done in life. You want to accuse me of doing something weird, go for it, because I know you have nothing. Anyways, it backfired on him because Pierre said, yeah, bring it on. And then the rest of the country joined in. And I saw that letter. I said, bring it all on, man. I want to know. I don't care if they're conservative or liberal MPs. If there's senators on the list, I want to know about them. If there's health officials, senior bureaucrats, police chiefs, journalists, whoever's on the list, man, I want to know who they are.
Like, well, and this is the thing that I think was solidified the best when Pierre put this letter out. Because there's been so much question about like, why isn't Pierre getting the secret clearance to go look at the what are they calling the NSICOP?
NSICOP. NSICOP, yeah, NSICOP.
Massive an acronym for this security clearance, which Justin Trudeau put together himself in order to rope people in to get this security clearance, that if you get it, you are now sworn to secrecy for the rest of your life on anything that you're briefed on in this security. So he lays it out here, basically saying, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to get this security clearance. If you know the names, let it be known. And why hide behind this NSICOP that you've put forward? And this is Bruce McGonigal on Twitter who lays it out right here. Video: Justin Trudeau created NSICOP. The only reason why we don't know who the treasonous actors are in our government is because Justin Trudeau is blocking the release of those names using a lifetime gag order requiring NSICOP clearance. Breaching the lifetime gag order comes with severe penalties, up to 14 years in prison if you come out and say the names. And I guess Justin Trudeau is also under this NSICOP as well. So he can say that he knows certain people's names, but he won't say it. We have to wait until there's a conservative government for the conservative prime minister who hasn't signed into NSICOP to actually come forward and say, okay, well, now I have the security clearance without a gag order. I can actually pursue this.
Yeah, it's a gag order or non-disclosure agreement or whatever you want to call it. And Pierre again is playing this one properly. Pierre, can you imagine? Like, Pierre gets elected and now he has all the security clearances and he can literally look at that list and there's nothing holding him back from naming the people on the list. I mean, we know why Trudeau's not giving the names of the people on the list.
Well, it's politically damaging for him.
Absolutely. Party, I mean, if you had a secret on me that could make you rich, you'd throw me under the bus. Yeah, exactly. Like, wow, like, my God. Yeah, actually, you know what? Good point. I'd never thought of it that Trudeau. That's a fact, right? Trudeau kept saying, I'm unaware of. I
do not know. I don't know. I've been briefed, but they tell me nothing of this sort. And now it's coming out that he knows. Now he's saying that he's been briefed and he's known this for some time and that he's tried to warn Pierre Poilievre to get the clearance so that he can know the secret details.
Yeah. You know who else knows?
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, Elizabeth May knows, and so does Jagmeet. But I bet you we can get it out of Elizabeth May. Just send her a bottle of vodka to her house, invite her to one of your podcasts, give Elizabeth May a bottle of vodka, get her drunk, and then we'll start talking. She'll sing like a canary.
Yeah, that's actually pretty close to the truth there with her. But I want to. I don't know why I closed this. I'll pull this back up. Just 1 second here. Share screen. Let's get this one up. But yeah, this is Pierre Poilievre saying, release the names, get it out there. There's nothing stopping you. You're the Prime Minister of Canada. He could probably get rid of this NSICOP thing if he really was concerned, and rightfully so. I think Pierre Poilievre has said this before. If anyone it turns out is part of his cabinet, is part of the Conservative Party, they're gone. Gandhi, sorry, see you later. You're no longer welcome if that's the case. Like, that's
in fact, why would Trudeau protect people that are on there unless they're extremely powerful donors and stuff like that? And there's all of that. But if there's I'm surprised he hasn't sacrificed a couple of Joe Schmuck MPs, to help his name with this. I mean, you know what? I'm not going to second guess Trudeau. I mean, that guy's got there's not a lot up there.
There's some really good takes here, though. Yeah. We've got Stephen Chase on Twitter says Pierre Poilievre's chief of staff, Ian Todd, has security clearance, and no one has raised concerns about Conservative parliamentarians or candidates in briefings given to Todd. If Justin Trudeau has evidence to the contrary, he should share it with the public, Pierre Poilievre says. Other people bringing forward saying, Brian Lilly saying, amazing. Justin Trudeau goes on a 5-minute partisan rant at the inquiry about Pierre Poilievre and secret security clearance and Conservative names implicated in foreign interference. He and his government have fought the release of any info for years. Now he claims the real problem is Pierre Poilievre. all kinds of good takes on this. Of course, Jagmeet Singh chiming in on this one. Country before party, he says. Conservative MPs have been involved in foreign interference. Trudeau knew Pierre Poilievre didn't want to know. Pierre, get your security clearance, get the information. Don't you have the information, Jagmeet? Why don't you put country before your pension and tear up that agreement and go right to an election? We should definitely go to an election where we can definitely see that kind of
if I was
forward.
Jagmeet Singh or somebody managing his account, I think I would delete any one of his tweets within 24 hours. Put him out there for about 24 hours and then get him off the internet, man. That guy, like, his words are going to come back to haunt him so badly in the future. Like, yeah, these are all, they're all valid, but at the end of the day, the NSICOP today, Trudeau does this weird bombshell thing. It backfired on him. I mean, he's trying to he's got a mutiny on his hands, right? I mean, we're going to talk about a bunch of things like the India thing last week. That didn't gain any traction. It didn't give him any favors. The NSICOP things, he's not winning with that. Inflation numbers came out. He's not winning with that. What else came out this week? Like he's not gaining. Nothing he's doing. Yeah.
Everything's backfiring on him. And this is going to backfire massively because, again, he said that he didn't know, and now he says that he knows. So if he knows, release the names. And if they are conservatives, release the names. Like this is, we all deserve to know this. And if
Pierre's basically telling him, hey, you have my permission. If there's 2 of my guys on this list or 3 of my guys, name them.
Boom. Out.
We
all want to see them out. We all want to see them out.
Yeah.
But this is another angle that happened during his testimony. So Stephen Chase also adding, Trudeau defends rules allowing foreigners to vote in Liberal nomination races, even if they aren't permanent residents. Expanding the pool, this is his quote, expanding the pool is also a way to try to engage future voters, those too young to vote and who are not yet Canadian citizens. Pre-hearing interview says. So he's defending the fact that people who are not citizens, not even people who are just visiting. This is famous during the Han Dong primary. Han Dong, apparently, allegedly, all these students from China were showing up in droves to vote for his primary, where they weren't even Canadian citizens. There were people from mainland China. This is a big problem in Canada. It's a big problem that also has been pointed out by Kushal Mara, who's said this guy is insane. He has compromised Canadian sovereignty and he keeps blaming India. Honestly, if this was India, he would have had thousands of Indians protesting in the streets. He literally wanted random tourists voting in nomination races. And here he was telling, this was Kushal, who was telling me and Daniel Borgman about this problem in Canada, how our political system is compromised at the party level massively by foreign influence.
Actually, and this is not just federally. I learned recently that there are similar rules in provincial parties. The Conservative Party has a similar here in Alberta has a similar rule. I was shocked to hear that, and it's a bit of a controversy this week. But you can be 14 years old and you can be a member of the Conservative Party, and you can vote. You can vote to nominate candidates. You can vote on policies. You can vote at the AGM, but you can't vote because you're not 18 years old. And but
you can decide who's going to run for all those lazy 18 plus citizens who don't get involved, and they're the ones who decide the election. Well, between the several parties, but people are deciding who is in these parties, and they're not even necessarily Canadian citizens.
And then back to that tweet, like the undertone of that tweet, also not Trudeau's, but your friends there.
Yeah, Kushal.
Like Trudeau's, to me, he's been doing this for 2 years now, 3 years. Trudeau's picking a fight with India, and that's a weird country to want to pick a fight with, man. Like that's I don't even have a theory for why he's picking a fight, other than the common theory is that India has something on him or something. I don't know. That they're just it's got to be more than they're just pissed off at him having traveled there 4 years ago with the family and dressed in costumes. I mean, there's something else. Like, why? Because
Krishal's argument is that Canada's political like primary systems and all of this is infiltrated by this Khalistan movement.
Yeah.
So there's this pro-Khalistani groups that
take
are
advantage of our naiveness and our niceness to set a base here, which then goes back to
and this is all the parties. He's not saying that this is just the Liberals or the NDP. It's the Conservatives as well. There's influence within the Conservative Party and members that
so is Krishal's theory then that those groups are somehow or other providing favors and finances and monies to Trudeau that would then compel him to like, do they have a common enemy? Like they've convinced Trudeau to be an ally and a common enemy to India. Like that's
to India itself, which is and I'll give you 10 billion reasons, or 10 billion reasons not to create an enemy out of India. We have $4.32 billion in exports that go to India. We also import $5.37 billion of their goods to our country, and these are goods that we need for our businesses.
We need them, but that I tweeted about this earlier this week because Canada exports to India, but specifically it's Alberta and Saskatchewan, because our exports to India are charcoal and oil and legumes. Everybody said, "What are legumes?" Lentils.
Yeah.
And so Trudeau wouldn't care if he damaged trade with India, because it doesn't hurt the rest of Canada. It hurts the West. Like, oh my God, like, is it? I mean, and you know, we're going round and round, but I think a lot of people are saying that Trudeau right now, as a cornered animal, is in that last phase of destruction where he's intent on doing the most damage possible to make the reconstruction as difficult as possible for Poilievre or whoever for the next 4 years, so that then Liberals can come back into power, you know, in 4 years from now. He's playing a long game. I mean, wow.
Well, and it really doesn't make sense, Trudeau's stance on Khalistan and why he would, you know, skirt around it. Every other country recognizes Khalistani groups as like terror organizations. They've committed acts of terrorism. The largest act of terrorism that ever took place in Canadian soil, the Air India bombing, was from the Khalistani groups. This is a Canadian issue as well. American security intel is saying, Canada, what are you doing? There's been attacks on embassies in the United States from these groups, and India saying they don't even have a Khalistan problem. It doesn't exist anymore in India, because
they're fighting a proxy. They're fighting a proxy war somewhere else. Hey, did you hear this week? Speaking of Air India, an Air India plane had a bomb threat on board and had to land in Iqaluit.
I didn't know that. No.
Yeah, 300 people were stranded in Iqaluit. I don't know why they couldn't just take the plane and keep it going or whatever. I guess the plane landed and there was problems, and so then the Canadian Army had to fly the people from Iqaluit back out. Iqaluit cannot handle 300 people. Like, it just
Where is that anyway?
Like Iqaluit, it's way up above the Arctic Circle. So a plane from Toronto, an Air India plane from Toronto heading back to India. Like, they go over the Arctic Circle, had to do an emergency landing in Iqaluit.
No way.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
That was a couple of days ago, and so. Oh my God, Clyde, like, dude, we could go all over the place. Like, let's try and stay focused. But I mean, look at the craziness that's going on in Canada. Well, let's stay on Trudeau. Let's stay on Trudeau for a bit longer.
Okay, well, let's go to one thing. Him promising everybody else's money, and that's
not where I was going to go, but let's go there. Sure.
Yeah, let's go there, because this is just ridiculous. This peeved me off when I saw this video the other morning. Well, this is him talking in his usual lispy self.
Yeah. Today is a good day, because if you live in one of these provinces, check your bank account. You just got the Canada Carbon Rebate.
Guess what? I don't live in any of those provinces.
and finish what he says, right? It's the words that he uses,
Looks
right?
Like this, or like this. It's a payment from us that goes out 4 times a year. We put a price on pollution, and the revenue goes straight back into your pocket. So check your bank account or your mailbox in the coming days. Today is a good day.
Oh, that little squinty smile at the end. It just drives me. Anyway, here's Stephen Guilbeault basically saying the exact same thing.
Hello, everyone. Very good news. Today is the day we're sending you the Canada Carbon Rebate. So if you live elsewhere than Quebec or British Columbia, go and look in your bank account. You may receive it by check. 8 out of 10 Canadians get more money back than what they pay. This is a way for us to fight climate change, to make sure that big polluters are doing their fair share when it comes to reducing pollution, but also helping you with everyday affordability issues. Good news for rural Canadians, they get a 20% top up because we realize that many things are more expensive in rural Canada. So go and check.
Oh, and we just keep changing our mind about this and making up new rules as we go.
And
Brian Garrettson pointing out a tax that alters the world's climate. These people are insane. It's absolutely
and this
insane.
is in light of the parliamentary budget officer earlier this week, or maybe it was on Friday, or maybe it was on Tuesday, but the parliamentary budget officer re-reviewed his report and reissued his report about the carbon tax impact on the economy. And you know, he says in there that if you consider only the fiscal implication of the carbon tax, meaning purely the dollar, purely the dollar to you that you get back, yes, it benefits you. But then he goes on for another 47 pages of saying, but if you consider the economic impact, it's harmful. But of course, the parliamentary budget officer wrote that first paragraph, and the Conservatives or the Liberals read that first paragraph. Did you see the exchange between, oh my God, the Conservatives and the Liberal? The guy was wearing, the Liberal guy was wearing like a flannel suit with a weird tie, and the Conservative said, and he tried to make a dig saying, well, at least I read the report, and the Conservative says, well, at least I looked in the mirror before getting dressed this morning or whatever. Like even the speaker had to laugh.
I don't know if I have it ready to go.
Yeah,
no, I don't have it ready to go. But yeah, he made fun of him, and only Don Cherry should be wearing suits like that. I mean, that's it.
Yeah.
The one Canadian that can get away with that flamboyant sort of suit wearing is Don Cherry, but that's about it.
So the carbon tax didn't gain, like, you know, they're doubling down on that. It's been an issue of theirs because they're giving Canadians money, and Canadians don't even that's so weird, man. I'm actually a little bit disappointed in my fellow Canadians. Like, Canadians apparently get a check or something in their bank statements, and then they don't even care. Like, oh, I got $200 from the government, and then they go on. And the government's going out of its way to try and remind Canadians that, no, that 200 is the carbon tax rebate. And most Canadians are like, whatever, it's free money.
Whatever. Well, it's just a bit of your money back at the end of the day. It's only a little bit of your money back. You're not getting anything. You're getting a refund for a crappy tax.
I'm getting it by check, by the way. Yeah, I do live in one of those provinces that you know, he at the bottom of the screen. I live in Alberta, so tell you what, when I get it next week, Clyde, I'll show it to you. I'll show you what I got. I think I get about $200, you know, every quarter or something like that. And
I really like this tweet. I got to point this one out because this is Chris Burnett. He says, in Canada, the government takes 50% of your income, then returns 1% if you comply. The leader, whose father was also the leader, frames this 1% rebate as a magnificent gift directly from him. Citizens believe this gift will make the planet slightly cooler.
Now, why did Chris put that picture on there? I saw that tweet. Like, is that clickbait? I don't know why he put that picture there of that lady.
Well, what's her name? Young-mi Park. She was a defector of North Korea, and she's been going around telling people how crazy North Korea is.
Oh, is that why she? Okay.
That's why that picture is there. Yeah. Hey, she was on Joe Rogan, and she's fantastic. She's fantastic. She broke free and escaped North Korea. The hell that she went through getting through China and then into the United States.
I know who she is. I just didn't recognize her, and I didn't understand why Chris put that picture of her there. And by the way, Donald Trump agreed to go on Joe Rogan.
So did apparently Kamala is going to be on Rogan. going up.
She can't do that. She'll get no, she's not smart enough to go on Rogan. Wow, she
Well,
will.
apparently
I'm sure.
Rogan, he went along with it. We'll see if it even happens. I wanted to
Wow.
share some more tweets on this. The carbon tax is so ridiculous. Government.exe is corrupt, says, watch, China has over 3,000 coal-fired power plants and emits more CO2 than the USA, Russia, India, Germany, France, and Canada combined. It's pretty dumb to think charging Canadians a carbon tax will do anything other than make them poorer, unless that's their goal.
Yeah, and I don't know why I applaud this. I'm on board with this too. You know, I did a tweet on carbon tax this week. You know, I compared the US to Canada in terms of emissions coming down, and the US has achieved better emission reductions without a carbon tax. But at the end of the day, you know, you and I don't believe in carbon being a cause of climate change, and so but I'm confused because it still resonates with an incredible amount of Canadians. Like, Canadians have been brainwashed, man. A lot of Canadians. Like, I know even in my family, a lot of Canadians still the carbon climate resonates, right? No matter how much you like this, you know, last week there's that hurricane hit in North Carolina or whatever, and create a lot of damage. But then experts go, yeah, but on the grand scale, it's just another one, right? These guys get one every year, and you know, there's pictures that show up that show high water marks and from previous years, and there's no more hurricanes than in previous years. In fact, there's less.
Well, the crazy thing, I can't remember her name, but the woman who came up with the theory that climate change is leading to more storms and in greater severity, she later redacted her point. She came back and said, I was wrong. I looked at the data more carefully, and that was incorrect. It's not actually happening in more frequency or in more severity. It's just they come and then they go, and then that's it. If you look at the trend over time, it's very flat. It's not moving anywhere.
Well, same with closer to home. You know, there's the Center for Forest Fires. It's a federal agency that tracks forest fires. They have 40 years of history, and I can go on that website and plot, you know, and provide their plots that show number of forest fires and hectares burned in Canada. It's been going down steadily for 40 years, man. We got it under control. Yeah, it's going down. It's completely gone down. But then you got an inquiry going on in Jasper, or not in Jasper. It's, you know, the inquiry is still going on in the House of Commons there or whatever in committee. They're talking about Jasper, and yeah, Guilbeault. Wow, that was another cute exchange. Did you see that stalling of Guilbeault trying to? They had experts coming to talk about the fire and beetles and stuff like that in committee, and Guilbeault and others kept trying to stall him. You know, point of order, Your Honor, point of order, point of order, point of order. He kept saying they're not scientists. He kept saying they're not scientists. I'm like, they're not fucking scientists. You're not a scientist, Guilbeault. Nobody on your team is a scientist. You know what I mean? Like, oh man. Yeah.
Well,
hey, let's finish on Trudeau. Let's finish on Trudeau, but let's finish on Trudeau. I don't know if you want to put a clip, but you know, the reality for Trudeau right now, everything we've said, Canadians are fed up with him. But the best part of this week is that his own party's fed up with him, right? Like, I don't know if you have a clip ready to go, or just a comment. He's got a mutiny on his hand. He's got 2 or 3 confirmed MPs. I know for a fact, I've seen him with my own eyes. They've been on TV. 2 or 3 MPs have already come out and said, you know, he's got to go. I mean, there was an MP from Charlottetown. I can't remember his name, but the MP from Charlottetown literally said, I represent my people, and the people of Charlottetown keep telling me he's got to go. So he's like, I gotta finally, you know, there you go. Do you have it? Yeah.
Sean Casey, Liberal Party of Canada. He went on TV. The CCFR put this one up, and he basically said that my constituents is telling me he's got to go, or I'm not voting for you.
Do you think Justin Trudeau should stay on as Liberal leader?
No, I don't. My job has always been to project the voice of the people I represent in Ottawa, to be Charlottetown's representative in Ottawa and not the reverse. And the message that I've been getting loud and clear, and more strongly as time goes by, is that it's time for him to go. And I agree.
Did you come to that conclusion before you started hearing it at the doors? I mean, when you talk to people in your riding, what are your constituents saying to you?
There's a general malaise. There's a level of tiredness. The number one issue at the doors in Prince Edward Island has for a long time been healthcare. That's been supplanted by concerns over leadership, and people have had enough. They've tuned him out, and they want him to go. I can't tell you the number of people that have said to me, Sean, I want to vote for you, but I can't.
So
I want to vote for you, but I can't. That's it.
No, actually, after he said that,
done.
I went. After he said that, I went to 338 Canada to see his writing, how he's polling, Sean, and he's done. He's polling miserably. All of PEI right now is polling conservative. I mean, PEI is, he said healthcare, but what I'm sure if you go knocking on doors in PEI, they're not talking Trudeau and they're not talking healthcare. PEI, I know what they're talking about: out of control immigration. Because for us, it's big and it's noticeable. Imagine poor little PEI with 400,000 people suddenly wakes up with an extra 50,000 foreigners, and they are hitting PEI hard. So I guarantee you that's what's on their mind in PEI. Hey, I'm just happy they're blue. I'm happy that Sean is speaking up. I hope Ken McDonald in Newfoundland will speak up again. Finally, he's the guy who.
This was Elon Musk this morning. He tweeted this out. He said, well, he was retweeting someone else saying, wow. But yeah, foreign-born share of the population went from 24%, and it's expected to be 34% by the time Trudeau gets out of office. Yep. And it's hitting these little provinces out in the Maritimes pretty hard as they're watching the demography change.
Well, what's interesting about this tweet, I saw this one, is that this is an American who's using Canadian data to try and make a case for the U.S., right? So the U.S. don't provide, I guess the American government doesn't provide the same data, but he's basically saying, hey, it's bad in Canada and it's probably equally bad in the U.S. But yeah, that's an interesting, I've talked about that number before. Like, basically what that says is at this rate, 50, like within a generation, right? A generation is generally considered about 30 years, right? 30 years is a generation. That's what they say. So within 30 years from now, half the people living in this country will not have been born here. That's an insane number. Like it's unprecedented anywhere in the world. Like Australia didn't do this. The US aren't doing this. We're in New Zealand. Nobody's doing this except Canada. We are replacing ourselves. So we're letting him in way too fast.
And this is why I don't feel sorry for guys like Sean that look completely disheveled on media and are saying, yeah, the voters, they won't vote for me if Trudeau is the leader. Well, you know what? You were at the back of the bench and you were voting along lines with him. You were voting on every issue with Trudeau. Every one of those MPs, those Liberal MPs, I don't feel bad for them. I hope Trudeau sticks around until the election's over because I want them to get voted out. I want to see their replacements get voted in, and let's see something completely different. People want change. This is a change election. This is what's happening both in the United States and in Canada. Is you're going to see change happening this election cycle, and that's what Canadians are looking for.
Which brings us back to one of the topics we were talking about last week, which didn't happen this week. I thought that you and I argued over we didn't argue, but I didn't quite appreciate why you thought and others thought that Trudeau might prorogue Parliament. Now I appreciate it. Now I understand it. I think Trudeau, with all this stuff going on, Trudeau just wanted this week to happen so he could do his little showboating on the NSICOP inquiry. And then after that, I think he will prorogue Parliament. I agree with you and some of the others. It's a weird strategy, but I think all it does is it buys him 6 months of time to just strategize. And basically 6 months to stuff his pockets a little bit further. And
in 6 months to try to change the narrative. I mean, if you look at the last time there was the rumblings that the backbenchers wanted to get rid of Trudeau. The last time that happened, the India scandal happened. Yep. And everybody looked at India and everybody looked at what was going on there. This time they're not.
No,
They're not.
they
They're moved on. They don't care. Get back to
you're
what
right,
was my goal.
and I was worried that he's a master at winning elections and he's a master at changing the narratives and turning things in his favor. I was worried this week when the inflation numbers came out yesterday. You know, they're 1.6. They're within target. They're not. You and I know it. But thankfully,
sure.
thankfully, all efforts of the Liberals to gain traction with that failed yesterday. Nobody, nobody believes their narrative on that. You know, my wife, again, you know, back to my family, I share that to my wife. I'm like, do you believe that inflation is 1.6? She's like, get out of here, Marty. Like, she's literally, you know, saying I bought this steak for $29 that was $20 2 years ago. I mean, housewives, women who do grocery shopping know what real inflation is all about.
So in my video talking about it, I started off with saying, you know, the Liberals are congratulating themselves over their culinary skills. Look how well they cook the books, because that's all you're looking at right now. You're not looking at the reality on the ground. You're not. In fact, if you want to see a bit of the reality, have a look here. This is the food professor, Dr. Sylvain Charlebois, a little bit more down to earth when it comes to where inflation is. He's talking about in September, the food inflation rate was actually more about 2.4%, was largely driven by categories where domestic production plays a significant role. All of these categories currently exceed the overall food inflation rate. Eggs, 5% of inflation. Dairy products, 2.7% inflation. Vegetables, 4% inflation. Meat, 7% inflation. This is crazy. It's way up if you look at food. But, you know, if you include things like, I don't know, perhaps the crashing prices of real estate in Toronto and Vancouver, you could add that to the inflation rate and go, hey, let's add a little bit more weight on that, on the weights, ways and measures.
No, I've studied this closely. There's about 3 categories right now that have tanked, right? There's actually prices are coming down on household items like furnitures, televisions, electronics, communications are coming down, travel are coming down. So basically what we call the non-discretionary spending, Canadians have no more non-discretionary money, so they're not buying those things. So naturally, supply and demand works, right? I mean, WestJet, I think, announced that they're putting, for the winter holidays, WestJet is putting 20 new destinations on its agenda just in an attempt to get people to go somewhere, and they're going to drop the prices. I mean, if you want to go travel to, I don't know what they've added on their destination. If you want to go to St. Lucia because you've never been there, they're going to try and convince you to go to St. Lucia, and they'll make it attractive because...
What am I going to do? Just max out my credit card so I can go do that? Like, people can't afford this.
No, they can't. I mean... Yeah, you're, but yes, you know, to your point and to the food professors, like, inflation is a calculated number. The basket of goods is well, and guess what they'll do? Like, at some point they'll say, well, actually it benefits us when they do this. I like when they say, well, nobody's buying any electronics anymore, so we will remove electronics from the basket of goods. Then it makes the calculated inflation worse. By the way, somebody made a weird tweet. You know, like, I'm on Twitter way too much, obviously, but somebody looked at that basket of goods and saw that housing was still high on inflation and communications were low, and they tried to make the link and say, well, housing is provincial jurisdiction and communications is federal, and the provinces are doing a shitty job and the federal government's doing a great job. I'm like, dude, like that's a weird stretch, man. Like, you're way too much of a liberal if that's how you're trying to spin it. But they're doing mental gymnastics.
The Liberals, they keep jumping back and forth on whether it's a federal responsibility for housing or not. If they think that they're doing well, it's their responsibility. If they think that they're doing poorly, it's a provincial responsibility. But what's the recent thing that they did? What did they do? They decided, oh, we're going to make it so you can push your mortgage out to 30 years now. It's not like that hasn't existed in Canada. 30-year mortgages have been around forever. It's not new. It's just actually you're kicking the can further down the road. That's all you really are doing. And what are they doing? They're just opening it up so more people can kick the can further down the road.
Next month, I think it's due out on December 1st. Remember the Liberals promised, like, how they're addressing the housing crisis? They're producing a catalog of blueprints. The catalog comes out next month. Like, I can't wait to see what's in the catalog. Like, is it going to be like a mountain equipment co-op tents? Like, here you can afford, like, here's your tent, or here's your sea can, or here's your like. Yes, please, Justin, please. Pro-rogue Parliament, don't quit. Pro-rogue Parliament, regroup, which you're going nowhere. Stop spending. Stop making stupid laws. Pro-roguing would be really good, right? Like Bill 263 or whatever. They'd all be gone, right? Gone.
Bill
Amen.
C-63 gone.
Yeah.
All of it gone.
Yeah. So pro-rogue, please do. And then we'll deal with whatever consequences in 6 months from now that when you reemerge from your retreat, and then
slumber. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you even call that? What do you
hibernation? Maybe it can be like a bear. Maybe he'll just go hibernate and disappear for 6 months and then come back. But
well, and it gives some of the rest of us a little bit more of a break for a moment to do some of the good work that's being done. I mean, you went out to the courthouse recently with Eva Chipiuk and Jeff Rath are suing the government. And just how much of a David and Goliath kind of scenario is that?
It's really cool to witness, right? Like for the viewers, so they represent Carrie Sakamoto, right? So Carrie is people. I think you've had her on your show.
Yes,
maybe not. Have you had Carrie?
Yeah,
she doesn't like to talk. I mean, she's vaccine injured, basically, right? And she's the representative case suing the government for misrepresentation of the vaccine being that the basis of their case is the government told us the vaccine was safe and effective. It couldn't have been. I mean, it couldn't have been. God, it came out 6 months before and it was untested. But anyways, so Jeff and Eva have taken her on as a client. She's suing the federal government and the provincial government. And what they're trying to do right now is get this case approved as a class action lawsuit as well. So with her as the representative client. Anyways, today in court was very procedural, but it is impressive to go watch, and it's frustrating and it's maddening because you realize, like you said, it's like David and Goliath battle, because it like when you read about these things in the news, it's one thing, but when you see it in person and you see, the judge on their platform standing up high up there, and then on the other side, you see who you're up against. On this side is Jeff and Eva and one of their assistants and a handful of supporters. And on the other side is like the Crown attorneys, their team of experts, the people online, their unlimited resources, and they're only a date.
The king.
You're fighting the king. It's actually, the judge always says, like, refers to them as Alberta and Canada. That's literally how they're referred to. The judge says, well, what do you have to say, Canada? It's like, wow, that guy's Canada and that guy's Alberta, or that girl. Anyways. And then there's Jeff and Eva. Have you ever met Jeff in person? He's awesome.
Not yet. No.
He's Eva doesn't like you saying this.
He's like the Alex Jones of Canada. I love.
That's what I was going to say. He's the Alex Jones of lawyers. He's a really cool kid, big boy, big. He's an Alex Jones man. Anyways, people ask how it went today. It's procedural. Nothing major happened today, but it is an uphill battle, and it is frustrating. And this links to a lot of other things that you and I have talked about. Fighting the government in this country, kudos to anybody who attempts it. Like we saw it with Coots, we're seeing with Tamara, we're seeing with Chris, we're seeing it with Glorianne in Quebec, we're seeing it with Carrie, we're seeing it with who else? Lots of people. And the government has unlimited resources to fight its citizens. It's crazy. And it's
our money. It's our money that they're fighting us with.
Yep.
I think that something really needs to be reformed there. I think there needs to be an effort when we have a new government to put forward a bill through our representatives to say, no, let's level this playing field. The government can't have unlimited resources when they're in the wrong and they're being sued.
Yeah.
To just wait you out and through time just burn you out with your resources. Make sure you spend every last penny trying to fight for your rights.
You could see that today. Like, you know, I'm not a legal expert, but I could tell that there was some delay tactics, right? I mean, Jeff talked about it. We had coffee beforehand, and he talked about it a little bit. You know, like that this is what he's prepared to do, and just there was like a 10-minute discussion on when's the next day that they'll meet. And at one point, I'm like, they're not going to meet again until January. Like, this is 1 hour and a half. This is a case law precedent setting case. And the next, you know, and everybody's like, oh, my calendar's full. I can't do this. What about you? Anyways, hey, I want to add one last thing though. There was one thing that really pissed me off today. And, you know, I'm not a fan of civil servants, right? I'm not a fan of civil servants. We're in court and there's a clerk, right? There's a clerk who tells you like, please stand, please sit, whatever, and takes notes and stuff like that. And at the end, when it was over, the clerk, you know, said, please stand because the judge is leaving. And I stood, and a bunch of us stood, but there was a couple of people that were kind of slow to stand, and they got reprimanded. And I wanted to say something, because think of who was there to represent Carrie. Carrie's a vaccine injured person, and she has fellow people supporting her who themselves are injured. And so a gentleman who can't get up quickly pays respect to the judge because he's injured, and the clerk says, like, gives him shit for like, you know, please stand up for leaving. Man, oh, I was like fuming. Like, that's the kind of civil servants with a little bit of power and that just make me fume. So if she's listening, lady, do better next time. Like, literally do better. You know, it's a case about people who are injured, and there are like injured people in the room. Of course, they can't all stand up at the speed that you'd like them to stand.
Yeah, especially when they actually complied with what the state wanted, and that's the reason why they're injured in the first place. That's just absolutely infuriating. It really is.
It'll be interesting to see how this one goes. And then, you know, precedent law applies only in Canada, but luckily there's a lot of other cases like this around the world being tried. So, you know, any battle anywhere. I mean, people are looking to Canada. Well, that was the other thing that was disappointing. This is a big case, and I didn't see any mainstream journalists in there. I mean, there's people like me and others. There's YouTubers and a few people, but no mainstream media covering a citizen taking on the government of Canada. There should be. That's real news, but there'll be no, you know. Anyways.
Yeah, not in this Canada anyway. Hey, before we go, I want to talk about BC election, because that's coming up this weekend. You can't end the show this week without talking about this. British Columbia, obviously, we're in an election cycle. It's very neck and neck between the Conservatives and the NDP. If you haven't been paying attention and you're wondering where the United Party is, well, they dropped out. They dropped out ages ago. They're still the official opposition in the Legislative Assembly right now, and they're not running.
They're not running. That's interesting. Well, I never thought of it that way. Yeah,
that's something else. So yeah, they're not running, and it's very neck and neck, and it's become a bit of a dirty race. You know, you've got people who are part of or used to be candidates, but are journalists that are trying to write hit pieces against people who are currently running, which is really gross in my opinion. It's this incestuous sort of, you know, revolving door relationship, and it's just all too indicative of the government that we have and why we need to get rid of it and why we need to get into the Conservatives, hoping for that. But yeah, I'm surprised. I'm surprised after all that we've gone through with Eby and Horgan before that it's even neck and neck. But it is.
Yeah, well, it might be neck and neck in the polls. That's one thing. But one thing that I found really encouraging is Elections British Columbia, BC Elections, publishes the numbers. Like, you guys have had. This is common now, right? Like the pre-voting is like a whole week long now, right? People have been able to pre-vote, or what do you call it, advanced ballots for an entire week, and they published the stats on that already. And you guys are setting records for pre-voting, and that anytime that an electorate comes out in huge numbers, that's never good for the incumbent, because that means that the people who are happy, they'll sit on their ass no matter what. But when people are unhappy, they come out. So I'm hoping that pattern continues, and I'm hoping that what we're seeing right now, based on what we're seeing, people are coming out in droves because they're unhappy, and that's not good for Eby. That can't be good for him. But I don't think you guys are going to end up with a majority. That's just me looking at it statistically. Like, it's going to be hard for a majority, right? It's going to be hard.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I still have to put out this plea to everybody out there. If you're in British Columbia, register, get your registration filled out, get out there, vote. It's Saturday's the last day. It's the election is on Saturday. Get out there and vote.
Is it actually on Saturday? It's on. You guys have elections on weekends? That's weird.
I guess. Yeah, it's the 19th. That's the election. So get out there. You have to get out there and vote. By then, early elections are happening, or like early ballots are available. You can get out there, vote ahead of time. But here, I want to throw this out there because these are the things. If this is Stephen Andrew putting this out there, we can't afford another 4 years of the BC NDP financial management in Oak Bay is where he's from. But yeah, these are the new taxes that were brought on by the BC NDP.
Eby says he'll make your life more affordable. But we can't trust David Eby. Why? Because he's increased taxes 32
times.
Here's the list. Try to keep up.
Yeah, so if you like more taxes, by all means, that's your guy. That's your guy right there.
What frustrates me is that you guys are so high that our politicians keep looking to you guys going, well, we got a little farther to go. Like whenever Danielle Smith here increased the land transfer tax last, I think it goes into effect November 1st. And that was the first thing they said. Well, we're not as high as BC. Who cares? Like, what's wrong with B? Like, you know, like
you're the lowest.
Yeah, so we're a little bit lower than you on that one. So we got wiggle room. And then next week, you guys will look at us and go, well, their gasoline tax is a little bit lower than ours. So we can, you know, and everybody keeps doing this. Like, stop, folks. Like, we're taxed to death. Can I ask you this? We didn't talk about Jagmeet Singh much, but Jagmeet has, I'm not mistaken, he stayed out of BC politics altogether, right? Has he come to a side? Has Eby told him just shut up and don't talk?
Haven't heard anything from Jagmeet in this whole election.
Okay.
And I think that's probably at the request of David Eby for sure. Nobody likes Jagmeet Singh, even in his own riding. And in fact, he doesn't even open up his doors to his office. Well, maybe that's because they can't afford to. I don't know. They can't keep.
Yeah, no. And it's been the same thing. He doesn't come to Alberta, and then she doesn't want him. But on the other hand, I have seen.
He is from Burnaby, though. That's his riding.
Yeah, I've seen Alberta NDP MLAs go to BC and share, provide their support. So I've seen that. So that's normal. They help each other a little bit like that. But I was wondering if Jagmeet is poor Jagmeet. I mean, this week's Jagmeet turned his attention away from Loblaws. This week he came after an Alberta company. He's after Cenovus, an oil company. And same thing, he got lambasted for that. I mean, he's attacking an oil company. He's like, well, you've said that oil is on its way out. You said that oil is non-essential. So why do you care if oil is so non-essential? Then
leave it alone.
Leave it alone. You shouldn't worry about it. But doesn't that tell you something?
Don't need to penalize it or subsidize it. You could just leave it be.
But he's mad that they're making a lot of money. It's like, they're making a lot of money because a lot of people want to buy oil. So, one of you two is wrong, and I don't think it's the oil company.
You know who are making undue amounts of money in Canada, especially in the current climate? No, I was going to say politicians.
Oh, yeah.
Politicians are making an undue amount of money considering what they put in. They shouldn't be making what they make, and I'm going to stand on that one.
Yeah, no, that's the fact. The Dollar Store is a Canadian company. And it is a Toronto-listed company. The Dollar Store is, in terms of overall financials, it's half the size of Loblaws, maybe even a quarter the size of Loblaws, but it made 2 or 3 times the profit. So the dollar store sells trinkets, but is an extremely profitable company. But Jagmeet won't go after the dollar
You
store.
won't go over to the dollar store because that seems like going after poor people, which he's accustomed to doing. Anyway,
Yeah.
Marty, where can people find you?
Marty Up North on Twitter. Hey, yeah, come see me, folks. Engage with me. Guess what? Shout out to me. Probably by the time we meet next week, I'll have 100,000 followers on Twitter.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm at 99,700 right now, and I think I'll break 100 next week. Should be interesting.
Well, congratulations ahead of time.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, never thought I'd be there. Interesting. Weird thing, man. I tweeted about that. Wow, the other thing I'll be tweeting about next week. Next week is the 5-year anniversary of me telling my boss to take his job and shove it. So I quit a pretty good job on October 20th, 1919, just before the pandemic. And the pandemic changed my life. But I've talked about this. I met you. I met so many amazing people. I mean, I'm in court today with Jeff Rath and Eva Chipyak, and we're meeting people. Yeah, if you'd have told me that this would happen to me when I'd be in my mid-50s, I wouldn't have never guessed. Yep.
That's amazing.
Pivot.
Congratulations. Congratulations on a great pivot in the right direction. And holy cow, 100,000. That's always amazing to hit.
Yeah, cool. All right, man. We'll see you next week. Cheers.
Next week.